Hey y'all, we are taking a look at the histology of the stomach at the moment. This is at 40x magnification, 100x. These are the gastric pits. They're not as big as they normally are. It's because we're getting to the end of the stomach. If you look at another video when we're looking at this longitudinal section of the stomach, we would see a lot deeper gastric pits. These are not that deep. And not even a whole lot of muscle either. So we're going to move over and we're going to start transitioning from these. Look at how I call these pits because they go in more than they come out into the lumen. They're pretty even on top. And then you've got all this stuff here in the epithelial region. Here's muscularis mucosa, submucosa, muscularis externa. You can get a mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue here. Pretty neat. But we're starting to transition here from pits to things that poke out more. See how these structures go out into the lumen more? These are villi. Here is a single villus. Whoa, focus crazy. Here's a single villus, and here are more villi. We've transitioned from the stomach to the duodenum. The duodenum is the first part of the small intestines. It's also simple columnar, like the stomach. You can see the simple columnar out here, and these ones down here too are simple columnar. It's just, remember, when you cut something that's finger-like, finger-shaped, it's not always going to be a nice, long projection. Sometimes it's going to be a little roundish or obliquely cut. We're at 100x right now. This is all the epithelium, and the lamina propria, the areolar connective tissue. Muscularis mucosa is where the arrow is now. This is the submucosa from here to here, and then muscularis externa and serosa. Serosa is, not serosa, adventitia. The duodenum is not, it's retroperitoneal. It's not within the peritoneal cavity, so duodenum is covered by adventitia. How do we know this is the duodenum and not any other part of the intestines besides that it connects to the stomach? Another giveaway is looking at, remember this is the muscularis mucosa, the border of the mucosa. This next layer here from here to here is submucosa. Normally in submucosa you just find areolar connective tissue, blood vessels, nerves. But here is epithelium in the shape of tubes. These are glands. The duodenum has very prominent submucosal glands. So look for these glands. Let's look a little closer. 400x. Here is a villus with simple columnar cells. You can see the microvilli on these cells. Sporadically, you'll see individual cells that produce mucus. These are goblet cells. So here's a goblet cell, there's another goblet cell, interspersed with those simple columnar. Keep going down, right here is the muscularis mucosa, deep to that is the submucosa, and you see circular clusters of glands. Those, I think they're called Brunner's glands, but don't worry about the name. They're submucosal glands found distinctly in the duodenum. After the duodenum, you know what, let me show you one more slide just to show you a different view. Here's another view of the duodenum. You can see more villi, lots more villi. When the villi kind of push up and out, that's called a plica. This isn't actually the best example of a plica, so I'll show it later. But here are great villi. Let's look closer again. This is 40x. 100x, you can start to see the goblet cells, those lighter cells. You can see the glands in the submucosa over here. 400x. You can see the simple columnar. They have microvilli. You might not be able to see them with this light microscope because it's not highest resolution. But simple columnar cells, villi with blood vessels, goblet cells, glands in the submucosa. And then muscularis externa. The section of small intestines after the duodenum is the jejunum. Goes duodenum, then jejunum. Here in the jejunum, you don't see as many submucosal glands. You do see lots of long villi. So from here to here, you can see villi. But even the mucosal layer makes folds. So this big fold, that's not a villus. That's called a plica. Plica circularis. They're circular ridges. So villi, or let me go in order. Plicae are the big folds that you could see with your own eyes if you looked at an actual inside of the actual intestines. This is a plica, or plural plicae, A-E. These here are the villi, we're at 40x, and then the microvilli are even smaller. So all this is in the name of increasing surface area, having plicae, having villi, and having microvilli. You can see the epithelium and the lamina propria. Lamina propria is down here, and the submucosa is right here, submucosa. And then this is muscularis externa. The jejunum is surrounded by the peritoneal membrane, so it is surrounded by serosa, peritoneal membrane. Let's look closer. That was 40x, here is 100x. No submucosal glands. There are, of course, blood vessels and such. Like these are blood vessels over here. You can see the blood inside. Villi are still simple columnar. There are still goblet cells. We can take a closer look. 400x. You can still see goblet cells in the villi next to those simple columnar cells. I can't really see the detail of the microvilli, so you have to trust me that they're there. But here's a single villus at 400x. Only blood vessels and areolar connective tissue in the submucosa. You're not really seeing glands like in the duodenum. The duodenum is where you have lots of digestion happening. The jejunum is where you have lots of nutrient absorption happening. So that's why we need especially long villi and plicae here, increasing surface area. The final part of the small intestines is the ileum, I-L-E-U-M, not I-U-M, that's the bone. Here is the lumen. This is a cross-section. Let me just double check. Yeah, this is a cross-section of the ileum. I can show a longitudinal section in a second. But here is the lumen, and so these are the villi. They're not as prominent as in the jejunum, so they're starting to die down. Something else that you will be able to see is deep to this epithelium, but we want to go deeper than that to just basically in the submucosa bordering the muscularis externa. We're going to look for these round bulges here. This one, this one, this one, this one. There's many of them. These are lymphoid follicles. These are the Peyer's patches. Let's look a little closer. 100x. Those are the villi. Again, not as prominent. You can see the light colored goblet cells if you look real close next to the simple columnar. And then out here is the mucosa. Out here is the muscularis externa. This is muscularis externa. And so just superficial to the muscularis externa, you see these roundish bulges. Those are lymphoid follicles, where I'm trying to trace with this arrow. These are lymphoid follicles of the Peyer's patches. That is characteristic of the ileum only. You do see mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue, but they're not as clustered like this. They're usually more sporadic in the other areas. Let's go to 400x. Not the clearest. You can see the goblet cells and the villi, not as clear as before. Let's try one more slide showing the ileum. Great, okay. Here we have, you can clearly see the Peyer's patches here. Look how dark and lined up they are. Peyer's patch, Peyer's patch, Peyer's patch, Peyer's patch, all lining through. You can see the villi over here too. That's at 40x. Let's go to 100x. See the villi and the really big prominent Peyer's patches. 400x. Sorry, I'm trying to get this. All right, a little bit handicapped here. But yeah, that's the ileum with its Peyer's patches. So that's how you tell the difference. The duodenum has glands in the submucosa. Oh, there we go. And this is the lymphoid follicle. And these are the simple cuboidal or columnar cells of the villi, very small villi for the ileum. The ileum has Peyer's patches. The jejunum has large villi and plicae. And the duodenum has glands. This is the ileum. Very, very big villi. This is the jejunum. We don't see any prominent glands in the submucosa. And then here is the duodenum. There are villi here. And take a look at the submucosa. See those glands here where the arrow is? That's the duodenum, the glands of the duodenum. All right. Thank you for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions. Take care.